Hey everyone, welcome to episode 14. Thanks for joining me. This is Paul Riopelle. Today in the room, two guests. I've got David Jenkins, Steven Wolfson. Yes, friends forever. I'm talking 44 years? What? We've known each other a long time. We've got that special dynamic, which I think you'll enjoy. And of course, you'll hear how it all ties together with our mentor, my dad, Jerry Riopelle. These are my friends, my bandmates, partners in crime. Welcome back to the Riopelle Room. Let's go. You're with me, people.
We're here.
Do I have
We're
people
here.
Okay. Well, everyone, hello. Welcome back to the Riopelle Room, everybody. And today, I have a couple guys with me. I'm very proud, honored, and very lucky to have these two guys as my lifelong brothers, friends, talking about Steven Wolfson and David Jenkins. I've known these guys for 44 years. Am I right? Something like that?
That's what I was trying to figure out. Like, when is our 50th anniversary of friendship?
That'll be 2027.
Okay. Well, it'd be different. You mean the friendship for the three of us? You guys
for the
haven't.
three of us.
Yes, for the three of us.
I
I date that as starting in 77.
Okay.
Well, anyway, I want to thank you guys for joining me, and I love you guys. And
that sounds like a disclaimer already.
But wait, Paul, do you always love us? I don't think so.
No, I don't. I know. I call you guys lots of other things as well.
Yeah.
But I have to say that you are my brothers and lifelong pals. So.
And we've gotten each other through the pandemic, I think. I mean, we have to sort of talk about the text chains. And
well, I was just going to, that's one thing that I love. And it kind of reminds me of my mother, who was in touch on a text chain with her lifelong pals. And we kind of started, we've had it a little bit, but we've kind of started really pushing it during the pandemic. And and I love the fact that two of us can go back and forth forever, and one person might ignore it for a while, put on mute, and then come back, and then another two, and we just keep the dialogue going. So it's cool.
No, it's great. You're right, because it's like you if you're away from your phone or you fell asleep or whatever, and you come back and there's suddenly like 100 texts that you have to like catch up on, and there's references to songs and things like that. It's great.
So by the way, folks, that's Steven you're hearing, Steven Wolfson.
Hello.
And David Jenkins.
Or you could just write back, okay, that sounds great, and then move on to the next thread.
That's good old David Jenkins right there. So how I want to start this, guys, I got a couple things I'm going to bring up. But first of all, let's start at the beginning.
Yeah.
You know the drill.
Okay.
You know the drill. Let's go back. Put on your seatbelts, folks. Here we go. Oh! How about that? So what I first want to know, now the fact is you guys, as I said, knew each other first a few years before I came into the picture.
David, how old were you when you moved to 4th Street?
I think I was 7. I think we met in 1974.
Wow.
Around that time.
Oh, so our 50th is coming up soon. So
yeah,
that's
we can do a side celebration.
Exactly.
Did you argue and debate about the Watergate hearings?
No, but I do remember watching the news at Steven's house one night, and with the troops leaving Vietnam.
Yes. That's true. So now, Paul, should I say the first image that I have of David Jenkins?
Do you want to say
it's appropriate? No, there's later images, but the first image is adorable.
Okay, I do want you to say that, but I should also clear up that these guys are also part of the Motion, our band for a billion years. So I don't know if I said that when I first introduced you guys. So yeah,
but probably many of the listeners would know that.
They
but
probably
that's
would.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
But anyway, the first vision of David Jenkins. I need to hear this.
Okay, so Dave, how old were you? 7?
I think so.
Okay, so you see, Paul, doesn't he already sound annoyed? I love it. This is gonna like sort of be the audio version of our text chain. So Dave's 7, and he's running down 4th Street. Are you guys listening? Okay.
Yeah.
He's 7. He's running down 4th Street. We live on a block of duplexes in Los Angeles, and he's a few duplexes over from mine. And I look out the window, and there is a 7-year-old in a full Superman costume. I mean, blue tights, red cape, the whole shebang, running down the street as if like he's flying. And I'm thinking, I got to know this kid. Who is this kid? This is great. So that is my first image of David Jenkins, Superman costume.
And a lovely image it is.
I don't know if I remember it exactly that way, but I'll take your word for it.
Well, how do you remember it, David?
Yeah, how do you remember it?
I don't remember. I just remember being out of the street. How did kids meet each other back then? You just saw somebody in the street. You're like, hey.
Yeah, let's play,
Yeah.
So I have a question. So obviously you guys had your own thing going on, but what was that thing? Was there music with before you met me? Was there a fascination with movies and all that stuff?
I think we were probably both into comic books. I think maybe we were into like movies or watching TV. I certainly was already way into music as far as listening.
But Paul, I think the interesting thing is like, because you said like, okay, well, was there music before Paul came into the picture? And probably like the two transformative moments are, Angela's family moves into Dave's building. So we meet you, and simultaneously we become obsessed with the Beatles. So really, I visualize those two things happening together. Like we become friends with Paul and we become obsessed with the Beatles. Do I have that right?
So it wasn't because of me. It was just a coincidence.
That's what I think. Yeah.
Okay.
I think maybe around the time in between Stephen and I meeting and you coming into the picture, I think they had tried piano lessons with me and I just didn't take to it.
Yeah, I did the piano lessons too. Yeah.
I couldn't understand the left hand, right hand thing, and I could not understand how to read music. So that didn't work out. But then I think I got interested in the drums, which I know is something that Stephen was also interested in. And then when we met you were also a drummer as well. So that was kind of funny.
Power trio of 3 drummers. It's hilarious.
Right. Well, we were just 44 years ahead of the new King Crimson lineup.
Right.
We just didn't know it. But yeah, I mean, of course, the big change. So, I mean, yeah, I was certainly into the Beatles, and I'm sure Stephen was as well. But we were probably more excited about it once we met another person roughly our age who was also into it. And then the extra added attraction was that you also played a musical instrument and, of course.
We're kind of skipping, we're skipping. Let's try. I want to try to keep this chronologically because before the actual music stuff happened, we both. I mean, Stephen or David, you were obsessed with Superman. I mean, seriously obsessed. You knew the whole intro to the 50s TV show by heart.
Right. Well, I was a big comic book reader. Yeah. And I was a huge fan of the original Superman TV show from the 50s. Yeah. I mean, I can't remember when we met if it was already the summertime, but it seemed like, must have been.
David, I think that what Paul was getting, this is literally like our text chains. I think we were trying to lead up to the Superman movies.
Well, that's what I'm trying to lead up to. Yes.
Did Paul own the Super 8 camera? Who owned the Super 8 camera that we saw?
Yeah, Paul had a Super 8 camera.
Yes. We used to go and buy those 3.5 minute reels at Photomat.
Yep.
And we started making Superman movies, which we all took part in. Those were a lot of fun. And these 3.5 minute silent movies, all the kids in the neighborhood were in these things. David's sister, Sarah, Angela, Marla, Chuck.
David flew in them and he literally pushed your dad's car. So it was, it was classic.
So yeah, those were fun. And then the music came. And of course, anyone that knows us for that long knows about the tennis rackets. That's how we started performing as a unit, was playing Beatles songs. And I don't
know if we were playing Beatles songs.
Well, wait a minute. But you know what? We always say we were lip syncing to Beatles records, but that's not true.
Okay.
Do you know why that's not true?
Because we were actually singing too?
We were actually having sound come out of our voices.
Wow.
We were singing. I mean, I don't know how.
I'm old. I don't remember that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, so we were actually, I guess, arm syncing because we strummed the tennis rackets.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would just sing along to the records and then we would hold tennis rackets pretending to play guitars.
Well, we get all the little kids in the neighborhood and all the little girlies around, and they would come and watch us. And
Did we charge?
crazy.
Did we
I
charge
don't
admission?
know. I hope not.
We didn't charge admission.
That'd be awesome.
I don't think we did too many concerts. I only
we did
recall
it in the house. We did it in like
House
the living
shows.
room. We didn't.
Yeah, I
We
recall
did a house party.
a couple of living rooms, both at my living room on 4th Street, and then my
We did it at my house too.
next door neighbors. There were two girls, sisters named Rebecca and Rachel, and we did it over there once or twice too. I recall.
Yeah, I remember that vividly being at theirs. So Paul, how did we, or maybe David knows, David's like the historian of the group. How did we segue from tennis rackets to actual musical instruments? Like that,
I said, I was already playing I didn't have a drum set quite yet. I think I had
Ice cream cartons.
graduated from pillows to a set of ice cream cartons and maybe a hand drum or maybe a set of bongos or something. I would set it up all around me and play sitting down. And then I think not long after that, I recall that you got a drum set, Stephen.
Yeah.
And then Paul must have gotten a drum set not too long after that. But I think Paul was already maybe learning how to play guitar a little bit from Jerry.
That sounds right.
And then I think you wanted to learn how to play the guitar as well. But I think you guys were making much more progress on the guitar. This was we're moving fully beyond tennis rackets and we're into trying to make music with 2 guitars and a drum kit.
Hey guys, I gotta bust it. I want you to hold that thought, David. I gotta break in for a minute. There's a news break. Okay. Here we go.
Yeah.
I have someone, a special guest. Ooh.
Okay.
And we're gonna skip over real quick to entertain the special guest real quick and talk about Jerry for a minute in a session. But I'm gonna bring the special guest in right now so you guys can meet him. This is not probably who you think it is, but special guest, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hey, special guest.
How's it
guys,
going?
Yeah, it's going all right. So guys, I have here, we're going to listen to Fools Together in a minute here. That's my Jerry song pick. And this guy was the second engineer on Saving Grace. He was the second engineer and main engineer on Take a Chance. And he was the main engineer on A Little Bit at a Time. Steve Escalier. Say hi to Stephen and David.
Hi, David. Stephen and David?
Yeah, we're
There's
both
2
there.
Stevens
Steve.
here.
Oh, my
Hey,
God.
man, how you doing? It's been as the kids say, it's been a minute.
Well, I don't know. I wasn't sure if you guys actually ever met.
Oh yeah, several times.
Okay. Stephen, do you recall?
I don't. David, where'd you meet Steve?
Yeah, well,
I either met you in Los Angeles or in Arizona, and separated by a number of years. I recall meeting you when we were kids, either at a gig or in the rehearsal studio or somewhere.
right.
And then I recall years later,
Mesa Amphitheater? Was he that first
maybe
1980
that
thing?
I just remember it's far enough down the pike that you and I had a conversation about you working with the Meat Puppets.
Right.
Wow, that's awesome.
So that would be at least a decade on from your time with Jerry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I want to do is play this song, and
Okay.
we'll have Steve for a minute or two afterwards, and you guys can think about what you want to ask him, if anything, and then we'll get back to our story, and Steve can go on his merry way and do something more fun. Okay, here we go. Listen to this. This is Fools Together from Saving Grace.
You come in here screaming like the rain, baby child, running wild in pain. Well, I can
Yeah.
I
Wow.
love that song so much. That song
Genius.
just rocks, right? And
Yep.
and Plan Solo, I think
Oh,
that has to be my top 3.
That's what I was going to say.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
Do you recall, or I'm sure Paul does too, but do you recall the rhythm section on that one? Is it,
Yeah,
because I know there's different
I do.
sessions for that record.
I think it's Jerry Gibson playing drums.
No, actually, it's Freddie Papalardo.
Fred,
Remember?
okay.
That
So that-
was one of the ones taken from Devonshire session.
So that's
Yeah.
Freddie and John?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's Freddie and John. Okay.
yeah.
Hey, Steve, I don't know if Paul had mentioned this to you. You know, obviously Sound City has gone through several changes in ownership over the years.
Yeah.
But for the last 2 years, basically, the guys who are leasing the space and they brought in their own equipment are, as a friend of mine named Tony Berg, who's an old producer and A&R guy,
Yeah.
and his protege is a young guy named Blake Mills. They do a lot of work together long term.
Uh-huh.
But they're still using the space. That room is still sounding great, and they're still using it for sessions every day.
Well, that big room there is magic. It's
Yeah.
just a magic place. It has an ultimate experience for anybody that plays in there, you know.
Yeah, well, they're making use of it, so it's nice to know that it's still there.
Yeah.
So, did Fools Together bring back anything, Steve? Or do you guys want to ask something specific about that song?
Well,
or any
I
of
was
those
trying to
songs?
remember which one was the one we did in the parking lot.
That was Blues on My Table.
Okay.
I mean, well, you know what? I guess it's possible that you did Dave's overdub of Blues in the parking lot, and then you may have done Fools Together that way too. I don't know. Steven, any questions about Saving Grace? I mean, Steven was there.
Hey, Steve, I have a question just in general about Saving Grace and Take a Chance. So a few years ago, I found on eBay, I'm like a crazy Riopelle collector. I found a virgin test pressing of Saving Grace, which I bought and I listened to, and it sounded phenomenal. I mean, the record sounds great, and it even sounded better like playing this test pressing that had never been played. And I'm just wondering for you, like when you think about those records, why do they sound so great? Like, what was the secret behind? They're just so warm.
Well, I'm going to have to say, if you're used to digital recording, it was the analog process that made it that way.
Yeah,
It was the tape, the whole physical, the tape, and the way they cut the records on lacquers with needles and that whole thing.
yeah,
is part of why that sounds so warm and different than digital recording.
yeah. It's just those two albums just are.
Keith Olsen definitely had a thing. He knew how to get some certain things done. And it's funny because Saving Grace and Take a Chance sound very different from each other. They're both great sounding, but they're very different.
Yeah, well, Keith was much more. He was a much more technical polisher. He used things like before what would you call that thing? The harmonizer.
Yeah.
They had the harmonizer, and they had the Aphex
Oral Exciter.
Yeah, Aphex Oral Exciter. Before those things, Keith was taking apart Dolby machines and taking out the high frequency cut cards and routing the vocal mics through the Dolby's back end and back out through into the console and upping the high end so it was sounding digital high end on everything. And he did that on Jerry's records on the vocals and stuff.
There is the thing where you record with Dolby, but then you don't play it back encoded.
You have to do it on the input. You can't, like, say, record it in Dolby and then just take the Dolby out and play back. That just brings up all the tape hiss. But if you put the inputs and the mic into the Dolby rack first, put it on one side and take it out the other side with the high frequency with the high frequency card pulled out, it lets the highs travel through, and it sends it to the console and transfers it to the tape.
It's funny. I have read and heard from a friend of mine. That's a trick that they used at Sunset Sound making Doors records. That's something that Bruce Spotnick and Paul Rothschild did on the vocals.
It might have, yeah. Well, Keith was around in those days, probably sucking up all the information he could get,
Definitely.
All right. Well, Steve, anything else, guys? We can let Steve go.
Well, Steve, I just wanted to say, I really enjoyed your episode a while back with Paul talking about your days in the studio and especially your time working with Jerry. But just, the the sheer amount of stuff that was happening at that studio at the time was pretty incredible. And it's amazing that you were around for so much of it and got to be a part of so many records.
And David, you can tell Steve that Little Bit at a Time is one of your favorite records because that's all his baby. As far as
Yeah,
engineering goes.
that is definitely one of my favorite records. I think there's like three, that trilogy of, Saving Grace, To Take a Chance, and A Little Bit at a Time is like kind of the mother lode. I mean, that's the bulk of Jerry's best known and loved songs.
Well,
And
I'm glad to hear you say that because it's a peak period in his career. Those three records,
Yeah, and it was a big step for him to do A Little Bit at a Time the way you guys did it. There's no label, and he ended up putting it out himself, but kind of made a great record under whatever circumstances you guys had to do with your late night or early morning sessions.
Early morning, yeah.
The end result is great.
It adds to the legend for sure.
You can hear the big gulps on the breakfast jacks.
Yeah.
And the Heath bars.
And you can hear
That's right.
the game machine room ticking away at all hours of the night and day.
There you go.
Right. Well, anyway, Steve, we're going to let you go. Thank you so much. And I've got an episode, we're going to do one with you and Plen, which that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. I got some things to talk to you about before we do that too.
Oh, absolutely. Cool. Yeah, little disclaimers or whatever.
Guys, it was nice to meet you both on air, and
You bet, buddy. Nice to hear your voice.
I'm really glad you're a fan of those records because they really are meaningful records. Yeah.
They are
us too.
hugely influential to all of us.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think on that song too, what that you just played. I'm not trying to blow my whistle or anything, but I think I
Go ahead,
might
blow it.
I might have played the tambourine on that.
Oh, I don't doubt that. Yeah.
Yeah. I was always stepping it up. Let me do the tambourine, guys.
All right.
Cool.
Steve, thank you so much. And I'll talk to you soon and we'll set up that other little episode.
It's been a pleasure as always.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
All right, guys.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.
Happy Sunday.
Bye-bye.
You too. Okay. Hey.
All right.
So there you go. All right. Back. Where were we?
I don't know.
We were talking about Superman movies. We were talking about
we were tennis
transition.
rackets.
Yeah, so we're
and
already
we
I think we left off at we're definitely in the playing our own instruments mostly in your garage on Vista, and your dad had set up a way for us to all play out of one amp with a little mixer. So I think at that point we had just also decided that we needed to get a bass guitar. So we pooled our money, and you guys bought a Crown Beatle bass copy out of the recycler for $60. We all pitched in.
Yeah.
And then we'd alternate between two guitars and drums, or one of us would play bass, and I seemed to be more interested in playing the bass. So I would either be the bass player or the drummer.
Wait a minute. Were you more interested or were you kind of just like the designated?
I think you're romanticizing that part of the story.
Well, I seemed to take to it. I mean, I just wasn't making any, I still only know how to play.
Wasn't it? Stephen and I are older. You're playing the bass.
Yeah, I think we forced you basically.
However you guys choose to interpret your past is, of course, up to you.
No, because Paul and I, we were all drummers. Paul and I fell in love with guitar, and then it was like, well, someone's got to play bass, so we'll find a drummer. But Dave, you got to do it. And then, ultimately, you bought the bass from us.
Bought the bass from you?
Yeah, well, you gave us. I thought you ended up paying Paul and I back, and then so you wanted to own the bass.
No,
yourself.
He still owes us $5, Stephen.
No.
Do I? I don't know. Yeah, finding a drummer, I might add, took quite a while longer.
Okay, a few years.
We didn't actually find a drummer till later. But let's back up. So we're taking turns playing drums, bass, and guitar.
Right.
Around that time, Paul, you and your dad bought the first Porta Studio and set that up in your room.
That big hunky box.
And then the drum kit was in the corner of your bedroom. And then we started making recordings on the Porta Studio. And once we made a couple of songs and finished them up and sent out tape to various local venues, it was like, well, now we'll have to find a drummer. And that's where we enter Eric Satzman. So I think we've got that gig at the Natural Fudge Company.
Yes, I want to talk about that.
Okay. That was what.
Okay. Go ahead, Dave. Do you want to say it?
Well, that was one of the places that we either mailed or dropped off in person. Someone must have driven us, or we walked there. But we dropped off tapes in person to venues.
Right. Well, let's talk about our very first gig, like you just mentioned, Natural Fudge Company. John
Right.
Roberts was his name,
That was the guy who
Yeah.
booked
with
it.
his face painted on the building.
Yeah, he must have owned that place because
Yeah.
he wasn't just the booker.
This
He
was
was
huge.
He
Yeah.
was the main force.
And I vividly recall after we knew he got the tape,
We went to his office.
we all three went. Okay.
Yeah.
So we went, and his first reaction was, "This you guys?" He's like, "Yeah."
Yep.
And he liked it, I guess, and he booked us.
Because Paul, we had just for the people who who haven't heard this story 15 million times, we were literally like 14 years old. I mean, we were
little
kids.
little tots. Yeah.
Yeah. David, were we not like 14?
Well,
Yeah.
it depends. I can't
13,
remember.
14.
Was that gig in 1980 or 81? I remember the Troubadour was
remember.
81.
Okay, so maybe we were 14.
So
Yeah, we were
basically
14,
13,
yeah,
14, Paul would have been,
15.
yeah. So we were, very ambitious and just, hey, we want to play a gig. Okay, we're going to send a tape to this place. All right, we got a gig.
We played there 3 times too.
Yeah.
We did, including one memorable doubleheader where we
Yeah.
Yeah. The chess
played your
set.
grandma's backyard chess set party,
Chess
and then
set
I went
party,
over
right.
to the.
And that for that time, I remember thinking, and I think you guys agreed, like that when we did the Natural Fudge Company that evening after our first warm-up gig at the party, we thought that was we had just hit it. We had the best gig. We were on cloud 9. It was
You should
great.
definitely play 2 gigs a day whenever
Yes.
possible.
I guess so.
It's great.
You know,
So wait, so David, the year we played the Troubadour for the first time was, you said 81?
I think so. Yeah,
Okay. And Satzman was on drums?
and
Yes,
Eric
and
was
he-
on drums.
And
Yeah,
he fell on the way to the stage. Do you remember that? He tripped on those steps. That went up to the stage.
That's great. I love it. But
And
that's pretty awesome that at that age we were playing the Troubadour. That's I don't know if
Absolutely.
that's can be
yeah.
done.
And then I guess I know we also with Eric. I know we also played at the Ice House,
Right.
Oh yeah.
and we also played the Blah Blah Cafe. We also did the Newbridge School Autumn Carnival, a Halloween episode, of course, featuring the classic story of the PA system that Lenny Kravitz was supposed to provide, but it was
Right.
what was the story? My
Lenny
PA
was there.
is
Well, Lenny said the PA was in Africa, so
yeah, the PA was in Africa, but so we ended up using our PA.
All I know is that he was sitting on my amplifier playing my guitar when I walked in.
Yes.
How dare you?
And my sister tells the story, and I don't remember this part of it because we spent the night at the school before the gig. But she
Yeah.
says that at some point Lenny wanted to join the band, and I said no.
Really?
So So
I don't remember. I remember that he jammed with us, but I guess I don't quite remember. He's like a couple years older than us.
yeah, Lenny is, yeah.
Right,
Okay, so
right.
then what year does Ryland come into the picture?
So if there was a period of time, I guess it must have been at the end of the summer, whenever, there was a brief period where we didn't have a drummer. And then I think, Stephen, when school reassembled, did you say you asked, does anybody play the drums? And Ryland raised his hand and you were like,
Yeah.
I got to talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was meant to be.
He was
Yep.
great.
He's a cool kid.
That was the final ingredient.
Right. Hey, so
It's
I
a-
want to pause for a second.
Okay.
Stephen, were you going to say something?
I'm going to segue into something.
Okay.
I do believe that with your dad's music, we connect certain songs with certain points in our life. And when you asked us to do this, I thought about, when we did the show before, I said, okay, Carry Me Away, because Carry Me Away came at a certain point that I was young and heard it for the first time that your dad recorded it, and I was a young songwriter, and that became the bar. Like, if I can ever write a song as good as Carry Me Away, then I can call myself a songwriter, which I still have not done, but whatever, that's a different story. But the song that then I said to Paul was Real Man. And I said, and then we were on our little crazy text chain, and I said, what year did Jerry write Real Man? What year was it, Paul?
The album came out in 94. I
Okay,
think
so
I'm
around
correct.
there.
So around
Okay.
there, yeah.
Okay, so then I said, let's do math. We're all horrible at math. How old was Jerry when he wrote Real Man? So roughly, he was in his early 50s, correct?
Roughly, yes.
Yeah, okay. So, and I thought, okay, that makes perfect sense because my love of Real Man has only grown more and more the older I've gotten. And I believe that that's a song that you need to be a certain age, not only, and I think any age can appreciate it, but to write that song, I think
Right.
you've got to be this age.
You just
And
connect with the lyrics. You actually can connect empathetically with those lyrics. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it makes perfect sense that over time, certain Jerry songs have taken on meaning that maybe they didn't have to be when they first came out. And then that song really now, the older I've gotten, and even older as a songwriter, I thought like, wow, on the album that we made as a band, one of my favorite songs is Somewhere in My Future, There's a Broken Heart. And I thought about that and I thought, wow, I couldn't have written that when I was, in my teens or in my 20s or whatever. It took much later to get to a point in my life that song had certain significance or was going to come out. And so maybe that's why I still love it as much as I do, because it was a later song. Anyhow, long story short, Real Man, love it. Love it more every passing day as we all get older and, wiser.
Yeah. Well, Stephen, thank you for setting up the segue. So let's listen to it.
That's
I happen to have it right here. Here's a Real Man from, this was on Hush Money. Here we go. Real Man, here it is.
I don't wanna be strong, wanna fall to my knees. I ain't gonna win every day, babe. I don't like to say please. I don't wanna pretend that I'm like someone out of your dreams. Baby, don't you understand? You're not looking for when it's time to break down, you can run and hide. When it's time to break out now, babe, you throw off my stride. When it's time to make love, you act like you're afraid of the dark. Baby, don't you understand? You're not looking for looking for looking for a real man. Well, I ain't gonna meet somebody else's high ideals. I ain't gonna pose like one of your jokers up on the hill. Baby, they're dressed to kill. Well, I ain't here to make all of your uptown dreams come true. Baby, you can find yourself a man that's just like you. I just wanna know love, meet it face to face, take it in my arms now, babe, keep it warm and safe. When it's time to make love, I'll give you all the attention allowed. Baby, don't you understand? looking for a real man. Baby, don't you understand? You're not looking for a real man. Baby, don't you understand? You're not looking for a real man. You're not looking for a real man.
And there you go.
Oh, so great. I mean, just
It is a great
just
song.
kills
Really,
me.
really great.
Just kills me. And
Yeah.
even so, there was one time X number of years ago when we played Cantor's Deli, which we can just do a whole riff on Cantor's Deli, how much
Right.
it means to us. Where your dad and Dave Plin got up and played songs at the end of our show, and I think that's one of the songs that he played. Is
Yes,
that
it was.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
indeed.
Now you see, we said we weren't going to cry, and now what I thought about, getting a little like teary, like when I listen to his music, brings me joy, and then just makes me a little heartbroken too
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah.
But I was
There's a
thinking about that, like, and I think we all had this in different ways with your dad, which is there were moments to be able to say to your dad, I think your dad really knew the impact that he had on us. Like I would just, that was my takeaway, which is that there were enough times, at least where I was able to thank your dad for being this profound life mentor to me, that like I think he did know for all of us that like, wow, he really
Maybe he
transformed
did.
our
He
lives.
never really wore that on his sleeve. I mean, I wouldn't. I'm assuming he had to.
He knew,
don't know
and
that.
he didn't have to wear it on his sleeve. It's just,
Yeah.
you get to a point in your life with somebody, once you've got decades in with a person, you each know what you mean to each other, but you can acknowledge it sometimes just to reassure the other. But I definitely think he knew
But
what.
right. But he wasn't the kind of guy like, I really taught those kids a lot. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
but that wasn't-
He
that-
wasn't like that. I saw a sense of a smile and a sense of pride in him when he would see us do stuff.
Of course.
And,
Well, that
and
was
that
the
picture
thing.
of him watching us from the celebrity ramp. Do you recall that,
Yeah,
Steven?
it's a great photo.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's like it goes beyond. If your dad didn't think we were any good, or we were ready, or we were, or whatever at any given stage, he wouldn't have. I mean, yes, obviously, it's his kid's band. He was going to always be interested, but I think he liked the whole thing. And also, it's important to remember that, a gig's a gig. It's like if he's doing a show at a place and it's like his crowd, he has to know it's like, I'm not going to, have these guys go out and play if it's not, the right thing.
And he did think we were. He would randomly say like, "Oh, wow, Steven, that's a great song."
Yeah, no,
this guy is the
that-
most. He would actually say the phrase, this kid is the most prolific songwriter I know." He would say that, and you were 16 when he said that.
Yeah, exactly. But no, you're right. He didn't have to, like, it's one thing for him to like give encouragement to his son. It's another thing to his son's friends to be so encouraging and give so much love and support. I mean, like, he didn't have to do that. It was just, I think he dug it. I think you knew when Jerry really dug a song, and it was like, shit, that's fucking the highest bar.
Certain musical things, and he would like talk about David's bass playing, and he would just ran in Dryland. You could just see him, and you could see the hair standing up on his arm, when certain things affected him, which when they did, that's what happened. Either that or a tear came out of his eye. So yeah, that's all great. I'm going all over the place, and I'll make this somehow cohesive. I want to talk about some of my first times that involve you guys.
Wow,
And-
that sounds dirty.
Well,
but
I know
okay.
it does, but it's not. I trust me, it's not. I'm not going to discuss the dirty parts. That's part 2. So the first time I remember hearing Led Zeppelin was at your house, Steven,
Wow.
and I heard it. You were in the other room. David and I were in which house would this have been? This is Detroit Street.
Yeah.
You played, I heard from the other room, Heartbreaker. Down, no. I'm like, wow. And I mean, I've been listening to Beatles, obsessed with the Beatles. And I think you got introduced to Led Zeppelin from Derek, maybe? Your friend Derek?
Maybe.
that sound right?
I mean, obviously Zeppelin was a huge thing when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I don't know where it started. Yeah.
But I just associate my first.
I think it started with you getting 6 copies of In Through the Outdoor for your 13th
okay,
birthday.
that's true.
But this is before. This is before that came out.
Yeah. This is before that.
that. I mean, I'm sure I heard Zeppelin on the radio. I just didn't pay attention. But I remember paying attention because you playing it in your house. And another first, similar to that, was David Jenkins. This was also at the Detroit house.
Yeah. What?
This time, I think I remember being in your room was kind of connected to Marla's room.
Yeah, it was like
right?
we had taken one bedroom and my mom put a wall down the middle. So it was like we each had a tiny bedroom.
Right. And I remember sitting in Marla's room, and I think Jenkins was in there too. I don't know where you were. Why weren't you at your house? And the Kids Are All Right. I remember hearing My Generation, Kids Are All Right version the first time, and they're going, what is this? I fell in love immediately. I don't think we had seen Kids Are All Right yet, but obviously it came out because I don't know, David, did the soundtrack come out before the movie was released?
I don't think it came out too much. I mean, it must have been pretty close, but I don't recall getting the soundtrack myself until seeing the movie.
Oh, because I seem to remember you playing it for us. Anyway, so I heard My Generation and it was like, wow, this is amazing. And
I didn't know this. You're telling me
yes, I am.
that the first time you heard The Who was at my house?
Well, of course I heard them on the radio.
Yeah.
I mean, Pinball, all those songs that were heavy
Tommy,
airplay.
yeah.
I mean, I knew. It just I never got the impact. I never really cared about The Who until hearing My Generation at your house.
See, that I liken that to you saying that you lost your virginity at my house. That's how seminal
Well,
that is, you know.
Yeah. Well, you said it was going to be a little dirty, but you know.
I mean, that's
little.
incredible. That's like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, just The Who. I mean, that other than the Beatles, The Who had the biggest
I mean,
influence
the
on you.
Beatles obviously is my dad. He's the one we used to bond, and he'd play me all the Beatle records and say, listen to this, listen to the bass, listen to Paul right here. That's how I learned who was singing who was playing what. Even though years later I'd find out that, well, that actually is John on bass or whatever. But he'd turn it up, and he'd analyze, and he just loved exposing me to the Beatles stuff. And
I mean, I got to ask both of you guys, would you so obviously we start with Tennis Rackets singing Beatles songs, and not to say that the Beatles haven't had an influence on us as musicians and the motion to a certain degree, but I'd almost say that if you look back on what we first started doing, maybe The Who even had a bigger influence directly on what we were trying to do as songs and musicians. And I don't know, am I wrong about this?
No, I think the songs were easier to play. And also it was, even though it was old music, the movie was so fresh, even though it was an assembly of old clips with a little bit of new at the end. It was all brand new to us. So we were kind of primed for it, and that we're all knocked out by it. And it kind of all hit us in the same way.
did we all go to the movie together?
Yes.
Yeah, your dad took us
Cinerama
to
Dome.
see it at the Cinerama Dome.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, I think us and your mom and your sister, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's awesome.
And
He also took us to the show.
Second to last row.
Yeah. Were you at that? Were you there with us, Steve?
I was there.
I remember you had to buy tickets in the mail at that time. I remember the big 2-page newspaper article saying tickets were going on sale.
5 nights at the Forum and 2 nights at the Sports Arena, or the other way around. But we
went to
ended
the
up,
Sports
because
Arena.
we all wanted to sit together. We sat literally at the back
Yes.
of the Sports Arena.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. Well, really? Was it awesome?
That would have been a little bit after Kids Are All Right, probably the next year.
Yeah, I think so.
80 or 81. The thing that's interesting is that was like, and that wasn't necessarily music that I don't think your dad maybe had been into as much, but I think he saw how into it we were, especially how into it you were, Paul. And I know that, since the video of the film, they showed like a slightly incomplete version of it for On TV,
Yeah, right.
which you recorded. That became like pretty much a daily after school ritual of you putting it on. And Jerry had no choice unless you wanted to go out somewhere or stay in the garage.
Yeah.
He pretty much had to watch Kids Are All Right.
His take
every
on
day.
the Who in those early, he learned to really appreciate them more through us.
Right.
But he always would say early on when I was first talking about how I love this, and he took us to to see the movie.
Right.
But he always mentioned Tommy, like, oh, I loved Tommy. Tommy was really great. And that was about as far as it went. I mean, he heard the single, I Can See for Miles, and he thought that was a great single, and this and that. But yeah, he didn't really dive in or dig in until I started really getting into them.
Right.
And then he became a huge Pete Townsend fan. He was more of a Pete Townsend fan than a Who.
Yeah, but also at that time, that coincides with Pete starting to make his own records and have a separate career. And I think that was something your dad related to his solo records more. It's like he was, making some very different records, which I think your dad really related to.
Yeah.
Because the other person around that time that your dad totally flipped out for was Peter Gabriel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
That became a huge influence on him, in his writing and record making.
Yeah, he took me to that concert, Peter Gabriel concert.
All right, Paul, I'm going to do a sloppy segue for a second because I'm starting to get hungry, and when I'm hungry, it's very bad. Before we run out of time, I'm really curious what song David chose.
Okay.
As his, and then what the story is why he chose the song that he did of your dad's. I don't
just
know.
give me 10 seconds to do
Go
my
ahead.
other first.
Please.
And the hungry is a perfect segue because another first for me was the French dip sandwich, Steven.
Yes.
And I blame this on you.
You
Farmer's
blame
Market.
it on me. That changed your life. The McGee's French dip.
French
at the Farmer's
dip,
Market.
double dip, baby.
Double dipped. Yeah.
So
What about
Farmer's Market?
what about dim sum? You never had dim sum before.
I was gonna. That's the other one. I wanted to, give you your time so you can hurry up and get something to eat. But yes, that's the other one. So David, yes, what song?
I think the reason I chose it is just because it's a little bit of a unappreciated gem, but a song that I've always loved is on the Juicy Talk record, and it's called "Use My Heart."
Mm-hmm.
And wait, I just got to say, David, do you agree? Juicy Talk as an album doesn't get as much love as it deserves. I'm not saying it's.
Here's a whole other episode.
No, but no, seriously, guys. I understand. Look, Saving Grace and Take a Chance, a little bit of the time, like just seminal, important, super important albums. But there's so many great songs on Juicy Talk.
Oh yeah,
Well, I think part of the deal with that record is that kind of like in a way, Dangerous Stranger. I'd asked Jerry about this at one point. I know I talked to him about it, and I also talked to Glenn about it. Dangerous Stranger is weird in that it kind of sounds like a collection of almost like demos to try and get other people to record the songs. Like there's different styles and arrangements that it's like it doesn't. There's, in other words, like I look at Jerry's first two records as being one thing, and then the kind of the gelling together of what became the core band for a while. Like those next three records are like
what kind of band, David?
The core band.
No, is that what you call it? What is it really called?
The basic band.
Basic
But
band.
once the basic band expands, I actually just listened to In the Round twice yesterday. Funny, Plen said he hasn't listened to that record since it came out, so
Right.
maybe he'll re-listen to it. But that grouping of musicians, it's like they were on a roll and they made, kind of like those three records that we just talked about, Saving Grace, Take a Chance, and A Little Bit of Time. I mean, those contain the bulk of what Jerry's set was for ages.
Right.
I know, but I think that's why then
Right.
Dangerous Stranger and Juicy Talk, which have so many great songs, don't get as much love.
Dangerous Stranger was like, some of the, the lineup of the band was changing a little bit, and he had different drummers coming in. And then, same thing with Juicy Talk. It's like, adding a different keyboard player. George and Tammy had moved on. They weren't in the mix. So it was like kind of just back to a single guitar thing, but also adding more of a synthesizer player for the live shows with Dan D'Souza, and then bringing in Jeff Hawley with the saxophone things. He was sort of also responding to, there's all this new music out there. It's like my kid's in a band. We're making demos. There was a lot of activity going on in the making of Juicy Talk where Jerry was, I think, a little bit more than usual connected to what was going on around him. Like he was kind of referencing more contemporary records.
He was experimenting. He was like he's not going to make Saving Grace over and over again. He's doing different stuff.
He had a live show with like a guaranteed he could go to Arizona multiple times a year and play gigs and to a sold out crowd, and would always have to play a certain group of songs. So while some of the songs from Juicy Talk did end up getting played live, I don't know if I ever recall hearing Use My Heart at a gig. I don't know that they ever.
Paul, did he ever play Use My Heart?
I think early on he may have done it once or twice. And there may be video evidence of that, but
it didn't make the set list and stay in.
No, it did not.
But it's just it's a song of his I always liked. It's one that I really thought he would have gotten some cuts on as a writer,
Oh yeah.
from other people. I'm sure he tried, but I don't know that anyone ever covered it. But it's just one that I've always enjoyed.
All right, let's hear the
So
song.
let's listen.
It's
Use My
great
Heart. It's a
song.
great song. So let's play it for David. Here we go.
I've been thrown, but I expected the fall would come. I've been known to treat them better away from home. And now I'm back at the start. It's getting hard on an older heart. Step aside, can't give this feeling much room to hide. Feel alive. Feel revived. Oh, I waited so long for you to arrive. Come to me now, sweep me away. Take my heart, break my heart, use my heart one day. Oh, take my heart, break my heart. One fine day. Like a fool, I wanna make all the great mistakes. Treat me cruel, just let me see you when I awake. If I could change who I am, I know I'm acting just like a man. Tell the truth. There's really not much that I can do. Feel alive, feel revived. Oh, I waited so long for you to arrive. Come to me now, sweep me away. Take my heart, break my heart, use my heart one day. Oh, take my heart, break my heart, use my heart one fine day. Take my heart, break my heart, abuse my heart one fine day. Lie with me, try with me, die with me one fine day. Oh, lie with me, cry with me, try with me one fine day. One day, oh, won't you take my heart, break my heart, use my heart one fine day.
So, but I haven't heard that song in years, and I just have a memory now of being a kid and hearing that for the first time, and thinking that your dad, in one of the latter parts of the song, says, "Use my heart one fine fucking day." Like it sounds like that.
Are you saying in that recording you thought you said?
Yeah,
that?
it sounds like he
Oh, no.
curses.
No. One fine day. Now I have to go listen back. I don't.
Yeah,
think
I don't
so.
know. Just like one of the refrains, it sounds like I was like, "Wow, Jerry curse. That'd be awesome."
One fine. There is a recording that KDKB did a live broadcast in like 77 or 8, and they wrote on big letters on it, "Jerry drops the F-bomb." it went over the air on the radio like that. And in those days, it was a big deal,
Right.
But no, we do have to come back and have another installment, and it would be nice. I want you guys to come up with some topics that we could just go off on.
Oh
Are you
yeah,
there?
well, yeah. No, I mean, I think we've been like overly nice to one another. This is like, this is my concern. No, what's helped get through this crazy time of pandemic is the joy of our crazy text chain. And like, we can just drop random shit into this thing. And sometimes it's just great laughs. And sometimes it's like, Paul getting mad at David, so that's what I missed this time.
Paul getting mad at David. It's never Steven getting mad.
Yeah, it's never Paul getting mad at Steven.
Or right. Yeah.
No. Recently he got mad at me. He did. I was actually at the farmer's market having a French dip and he got upset at me. Yeah, you did.
Maybe we should talk about why.
I don't even remember. It was because I thought you guys were like going at each other, and I thought that was lame.
Oh,
and,
that was not going at each other. You should know the difference. Come
on.
If
you want to see going at each other, you should,
Put on Cinemax.
Yeah. What?
Hello. Yeah. No, this is great, guys. And I want to get one with Ryland. We'll do a motion episode.
Sure.
I mean, is there any more? Steven, I know you want to get something to eat. Do you want
to? Ooh.
Ooh,
Mr. Kotze. I have a question, and I think David will be able to answer this, but Paul may be able to well. So in the age of, like, say when we were doing shows in our teenage years, playing the Troubadour or whatever, how did we get people to actually come to the shows? Like, before the internet, we'd get those little tickets from the venue, and then did we just literally walk around handing out tickets and calling people on the phone? Like,
yes.
Like when we played the Troubadour, there were a lot of people there.
We had 200 people.
Yeah. Okay. So how did 200 people know to come see the motion at the Troubadour?
You told all your friends at school.
Yeah.
They told their friends. You told people in the neighborhood. Your parents, would come. They would tell their friends, oh, the boys are playing, the kids are playing a gig. I mean, I think we had something like at least 50, maybe 75 people the first time we played at the Natural Fudge Company.
Wow.
Yeah.
We actually made, money.
So it was all word. It was all word of mouth in the old day. There was just
family and friends, and you just get the word out. I mean, we didn't have social media.
Yeah, you just get on. Steven, there's this thing called the telephone. I know you don't use it, but you somebody up, you call them.
Here we go.
And you say, hey, we're playing a gig, or you just see people at school, or you see them at the, your local place or whatever. It's like, hey, my band's playing a show. The thing is, hard as it is to believe, back then, you could pack, one of these places. And I mean, when you're 14, 16 years old and you and your buddies are splitting a couple $100, I mean, you can't, grown men in their 50s can't get paid $200 to play a gig at a club of original songs now.
Hey, shout out to Belinda for making our motion T-shirts when we
Yeah, there you go. Time for a second edition.
Yeah.
I want that shirt again.
I know. I wish I had that shirt.
Well, there you go. Maybe
we'll get a hold of her on Facebook.
Get the merch table together for next year.
Yeah. Well, you guys, anything else? I'm kind of hungry too now. Oh, do you guys want to plug anything?
Well, that sounds filthy too. Yeah.
I know.
Plug anything?
Only because of you, Steven. That's your filthy mind at work.
Yeah.
No, but David, True Tone Music, is there a website people can go? Can they find you? Do you want to sell items, or do you care? Do we not want to go there?
Can they find me? I don't think I have a profile on the True Tone Music page, but
do you not understand what I'm trying to say? I'm just
I mean, I work at a shop in Santa Monica called True Tone Music, and you can find the store inventory at truetonemusic.com if you're looking for guitars or related accessories.
Tell them David sent you.
I'm very slowly working on a record these past years, and I'm hoping to get it done by the end of the year.
And Steven will be living in Japan by the time this airs.
They won't let me in now. It's you
missed your window.
I know.
Well. That's what they're telling you? That's why they won't let you in? So anything, Steven? You got anything you want to
well, look, if anyone listening is writing or thinking of writing, I teach at UCLA Extension. I also have a page on Facebook. I think it's under Steven Wolfson Writing Exercises and Workshops, and there's a lot of cool writing exercises and information on the classes I teach. So check me out on Facebook.
All right, guys. Oh, I'm going to leave with something special here. I'm going to play a motion song. Ooh. So thanks for joining the Riopelle Room today, and we'll see you guys next time. And this is a song that's on our CD called Whatever Pleases You, and it's a great song. And take a listen.
Some people have a dark cloud that falls a broken heart. Every hand I play, I get the lowest card. 'Cause somewhere in my future there's a broken heart. The writing's on the wall. This wall is 10 feet tall. You'll never see me break down and cry. I feel invisible. This feeling's typical. I wish I had someone else's life. Yes, I do. The writing's on the wall. This wall is 10 feet tall. You never see me break down and cry. I feel invisible. This feeling's typical. I wish I had someone else's love. 'Cause I don't wanna love you. I don't wanna start. 'Cause somewhere in my future there's a broken heart. Every hand I play, I get the lowest card. 'Cause somewhere in my future there's a broken heart. Said somewhere in my future there's a broken heart. Said somewhere in my future there's a broken heart.
How about that?
Yeah.
Steven, are you there?
I'm here, bro. Can
Okay.
you hear me? I'm sorry. I'm just was like, so, you know, I sort of.
Did you start crying again?
I've been crying for the last 2 hours. But
Good,
Paul,
it worked.
Did you,
No.
Paul? Did you know? Because you didn't know I was going to reference that song. Did you play that song because I referenced it, or you knew you were going to play that
No,
song?
I had it queued up. I knew I was going to play it.
That is, see, Paul, come on, that's awesome.
Yeah. Sounds great. That's a fucking great record we did right there.
I know, man.
I mean, of course, it's a great song, but it's a great record.
Yep.
Talk to you guys later. Thanks for joining the Riopelle room today, everybody. See you next time.